Hi, class. I'd like to give you some feedback on the motivation module. To start off with best practices. Here's an example of, I think this is from Jared. Once again, you can see how he's clearly marked his response to his behavioral interview question. Easy to follow. Nice job on this, Jared. Um, this one comes from Esther. Same thing. Notice how she's clearly marked diet within her response to the challenge. Once again, easy to follow. So nice job, Esther. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to Group 6. Group 6 had quite a few um, best practices within that group. So Group 6 is um, really did well on this assignment. So great job to Jared, Esther, those of you in Group 6 as well. There was a pretty long list of best practices, so pretty happy with the way this module went. I would like to clarify um, the ABCs of motivation, because I think this was a little bit confusing to some people. To start off with, the ABCs, which stands for antecedents, behavior, and consequence. Um, it's a synonym for reinforcement. Sometimes it's called the three-term contingency because of A, B, and C. Another synonym would be operant conditioning or Skinnerian psychology. Um, Also, the antecedent presents an opportunity for a response. People are still at choice, so they can choose to respond or not to respond. But what's really important is what happens after the response. If they choose to respond, it's the behavior that happens or the consequence that happens after the response that makes a difference. Because if it's positive, it's reinforced. If it's negative, it's going to be diminished. And in the chapter, when it gets into reinforcement theory, it kind of explains the details of that. But I want you to see that the ABCs are really a synonym of that same theory. It's antecedents, behaviors, consequences. If Skinner were here, he would say stimulus, response, stimulus. Now, if we compare that to classical conditioning is learning by association, or Pavlovian psychology. In other words, it is a two-term contingency, and a lot of times they're referred to that way because classical is only two terms, reinforcement is three terms. And the two terms in classical are simply stimulus and response. In other words, what happens after the response doesn't matter in classical conditioning. The person has made an association between the stimulus and that causes the response. And it tends to be automatic, just as it was in Pavlov's dogs. Um, so for example, when I smell pumpkin pie being baked, I think of my grandmother. So that's automatic. What happens after that does not matter. So there's only two terms, but it is still a very powerful form of conditioning, and often both classical conditioning and operant conditioning are used together. Um, it is the primary um, way of learning with animals. So those of you trying to train your dog or a horse or a cat, these are going to be the two theories that are going to be used. And it's used a lot in schools. Behaviorism is a primary theory taught to teachers in secondary education. And so these are really powerful theories, even though they've been around a long time. Um, People experience these every day. They just don't know what they are that they're experiencing. Okay, let's take a look at the leadership module. Here we are. Um, Tell me, so the behavioral interview question, tell me about a time that you took the lead on a difficult project. In your example, differentiate when you led compared to when you managed the project. Make sure you use star in your response, the same way Jared did. Also in response to the challenge, um, use diet the way Esther did. Um, Select an important term or concept from the chapter. Create an exam question. Notice no, true or false, or fill in the blank. And then you get to take the lead self instrument, and a lot of students have had fun with this. It is actually, let me see, pull it up here. The situational leadership is a transactional theory. It's behavioral as well. It comes out of the same school of thought as classical conditioning and reinforcement. And basically, what this theory is saying is that the ideal leader is flexible and can use all four of these styles. And depending upon the maturity of the followers, they match the style to the maturity of the followers. So the idea is the leader is meeting the needs of each follower, which helps develop them to a high level of maturity. And a high level of maturity would be defined as high performance and a high willingness to do the performance. And when they're at that stage, all you need to do is delegate. Why? Because, well, you trust they're a high performer, they're willing to do it, you don't need to worry about it, so you delegate. Um, if you have a brand new worker comes in, they have no idea what to do, then you have to focus on telling them what to do and probably even how to do it. They're typically they're willing because they're new, so you don't have to do too much motivational. When you get into selling, you have to do both. They don't really know what they're doing, and they don't really care either. So you kind of have to inspire them and teach them at the same time. Sometimes this selling, a synonym for this would be teaching. And then over here, this is when they have some idea of what to do. They're definitely willing to do it. They just lack confidence. And so what you're doing here is, notice it says participating. So it's kind of like a coaching style. There is a cultural bias in this test, by the way, and it is for style 3. So a lot of times people come out higher on style 3 because there's a cultural preference for it. But the ideal profile is being able to do all four. And so each of us, when we take this, will have a style that's kind of a natural style that's easiest for it to do. For example, mine is style 2. That's my natural style. And so you'll find that you'll have a natural style as well. And then your challenge is to become flexible in doing them all and in determining what your followers need. And the easiest way to do that is simply ask. Here I am, I'm the leader. What do you need in order to get this done? So I think you'll enjoy this. And the same way with the content in this chapter is pretty good content. And so I hope you enjoy the leadership module. Thanks.